The state in the Brian Kohlberger case is claiming everything's on the up and up. But there's more to this story with the DNA, so let's talk about it. Now, before I start, though, I want everybody to keep one thing in mind. One of these officers is under investigation with Internal Affairs, allegedly planting evidence. And if the Rudy Farias case and the Carly Russell case have taught us anything, it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's an undercover chicken. The defense is asking for more information on this investigative genetic genealogy used to link Kohlberger to the case. Now, the state says the IgG used was to just point them in the general direction, while the short tandem repeat analysis process, or STR, is what was used to link him to the crime. But as we remember, they didn't find anything at first. The state is saying the family tree created by the FBI, which was used for this IgG, has no relevance or bearing on the case. But the defense is stating they want to see the chain of custody. They want to know the investigative process. They want to know who touched it. Of course, the state is over there saying that the defense is suggesting that evidence was planted. But here's the affidavit. They list specific times all through this affidavit. They're not being very specific when it comes to this sheath. And understanding the chain of custody of things should be very important. But something that is concerning is the state is not releasing the name of one of the labs used to test the sheath. And it does raise questions. It does raise speculation. It shouldn't be a problem for them to just turn over this IgG information. I mean, if the investigation was rock solid and there was nothing to hide, then the truth's the truth. But they don't want to turn over anything involving this particular subject. And they're saying, nope, it's not being used anyways, it doesn't matter. Well, if it was the foundation to which led you to link Brian Kohlberger to the crime, it seems awfully relevant to me. Not to mention that this sheath went through hundreds of people, maybe even thousands of investigators. Because once again, it originally didn't link him to the crime. And if the DNA is so pertinent and relevant, why haven't they went through these links to identify the other DNA found at the crime? Just to say, hey, this is the other DNA, these were the people who we linked to it, these are their alibis. So the big question here is, what is the problem? We've seen the affidavit. It lists no time to which they found this sheath. We know one of the officers in this crime is linked to an internal affairs investigation, allegedly for planting evidence, and the case is sealed. So for the state to say up front, this is nonsense, it has no bearing, we don't see how it's relevant, I couldn't disagree more. The whole point of this trial is for justice. Justice for those 4 victims. Not throw somebody up on a wall, say they did it because we say so, and you shouldn't question us. And really, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. I mean, if the IGG was so crucial in developing that initial hunch, that initial lead, it should be reviewable by the defense to see how they came up with this. Because make no mistake about it, they're saying his DNA was on the sheath. There's no other DNA that we're aware of. Very little DNA at that. And a crime this violent, there should be plenty of evidence. And then for the state to turn around and say, no, well, we don't want to share the name of this lab. We don't want to disclose specific information. I mean, you can seal it and still give it to the defense. It seems a bit ridiculous and it seems a bit shady. To be honest, given the whole Rudy Farias thing, kind of how this investigation's going on in Idaho, it really, to a degree, had me questioning some stuff with police. But I mean, hell, maybe they should have just sent the Hoover Police Department up to Idaho originally, and we could have skipped all this hubbub, and they would have been pretty upright with everybody saying, hey, look, this is what we got, this is who did it, this is why we believe they did it, and we could have just went on about our happy way without all these conspiracy theories. But I mean, maybe they do stuff different in Idaho. Maybe they just do stuff different. But it opens a lot of questions. There is a lot of speculation with this case. DNA is not the end-all be-all in an investigation. At the end of the day, nothing beats just solid police work. So if the case is solid, if their police work is solid, then things like this IGG stuff should be relevant and should be handed over to the defense. If just to say we gave them everything they asked for during this trial and they can't produce anything disputing what we are saying here as the prosecution. But it just seems to be a back and forth. Why do I have to give them this? Why do I have to give them that? I mean, because it's a high profile trial. It will be, if it goes to trial, it will be very high profile. I hope everybody did their due diligence. At the end of the day, what matters most is for the person who did this crime, tried fairly, found guilty, and sentenced. Now, if the state can't prove Brian Kohlberger did this, after being so dead set and certain, I would hope that the victims' families attempt to seek some sort of litigation against them. We're having to make arguments about keeping up the crime scene before it gets demolished, for Pete's sake. Now, there's a lot of weird stuff here. But I'm more curious about your thoughts on this. Do you believe this genealogy DNA has no relevance in this case, and that the defense is just looking for outs to cast doubt, has no bearing? Or do you view it as something that is pertinent, since it was the initial hunch that led them to suspect Brian Kohlberger? At the very least, whether it is pertinent or not pertinent, if I was the prosecution here, I wouldn't want to have any doubt on my case stating Brian Kohlberger did it. I'd hand it to him, say, here it is, go look, feel free, have fun. But they do have chain of custody questions. How that DNA got there using that STR after however many times they tested it is a mystery. The name of that lab, who knows? Let me know your thoughts and comments below. Be respectful. This case seems to get people up in a tizzy. they're treating it like a national election. You know, like I say, justice should be blind. The person who did it found guilty, and the person charged that they're innocent, they should go on about their merry way. I'm still not convinced 100% either way he did it or didn't do it. I just hope that they give a fair, transparent trial. It seems like the judge is trying to do so. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Either way, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here, and I'll catch you on the next one.